What changes in your behavior when you know you might be being watched? That question sits at the center of a 200-year-old theory about power, and it explains both a recent Super Bowl ad and East German surveillance. Welcome back to Pop Smart, where I turn popular culture into muse you can use. I'm Dr. Shan, and today we're going to talk about the Panopticon. During the Super Bowl last weekend, millions of people watched a commercial from Ring promoting an AI feature that can scan their camera footage to look for lost dogs. At the same time, Congress has been debating the future of Section 702 of the Foreign Intelligence Surveillance Act, which governs certain kinds of large-scale data collection in the name of national security. In both cases, the people promoting this technology of surveillance are using the language of protection, efficiency, security. But in both cases, what's expanding is visibility and surveillance. So here's a theory that helps explain why this is so disquieting. In the late 18th century, philosopher Jeremy Bentham invented what he called the Panopticon, which was a piece of architecture that was circular and had a watchtower at the center. Panopticons were used as prisons, though Bentham wanted them also used for things like schools and hospitals. The trick is that all the people in the individual cells know that the guard is in the watchtower, but they don't know exactly when the guard is looking at them. But they know that at any given moment, they could be being observed. And that uncertainty is exactly the point, because if you believe you're being watched at any given minute, you start to regulate yourself. And the system doesn't need a lot of guards. It doesn't need constant force, because the prisoners begin to internalize the gaze of the guard. 2 centuries later, Foucault uses that architecture as a metaphor in his book, Discipline and Punish. He argued that societies increasingly rely on this kind of power, these systems of surveillance and record keeping that produce self-discipline. That's why this Ring commercial feels so unsettling to some people. It presents networked cameras and AI scanning as neighborly and helpful, but it also normalizes a landscape in which observation is everywhere. It's embedded, automated, continuous, coming from our neighbors' houses. You don't need a visible guard tower because the infrastructure does the work. And I think this also provides helpful context for The Lives of Others, which is the film I'm covering this week for my spring Films for Fighting Fascism syllabus. The movie, which is set in 1980s East Germany, shows a society structured around surveillance. But what makes it so powerful isn't simply that people are being watched. It's how that watching reshapes art, intimacy, and trust. It shows how surveillance changes what people believe is possible. And it thinks about what kinds of individual choices actually matter within a system that seems totalizing. But I'm curious about your reaction. Did you see the Ring commercial, and did it strike you as unsettling or comforting, or both or neither? And I'm also thinking a lot about the digital assistants within our home and whether or not they function like Panopticon. So I'm curious your thoughts about that as well.